Gridiron Grinder! Hut hut hike!
And we are off, or we're on, or whatever you want to say. Let's just say we're rolling. I think that's what I normally say. So tonight, James, this is episode 16 of Gridiron Grinder. I just went and counted. We probably should have had a little mini celebration last week with 15, but hey, we can do it tonight instead. Better late than never. I'm Ryan, and with me, as always, is my buddy James. Tonight, we're going to be going through the same thing we've been doing for the past 6-7 weeks, is providing our weekly NFL power rankings and game picks. How's it going tonight, James?
It's going good. It's Friday, so week's over.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll tell you, man, I was a little bit nervous last night watching that game, and I didn't get to catch a lot of the game, just bits and pieces, but I thought we were about to start a bad trend with picking the wrong team on Thursday night, but Philly, man, they pulled it off at the end. That was nice.
Yeah.
Did you get to watch the game?
I had to watch most of it. I kind of turned it off for a little bit because I wasn't that interested in it, and then I missed Danny's little trip.
I was just going to ask you if you got to see that. Well, did you get to see it in the highlights at least?
Oh, I got to see the highlights of it. It was pretty bad.
Oh yeah, no, that's I don't know. I heard that he provided some kind of an explanation for it, but I missed it. I don't know what happened, but
No, I didn't hear. His legs were moving too fast, and his body's like,
yeah,
somebody can.
just not used to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he got wide open, man.
Yeah, exactly.
And so then I missed the very end, but I heard they almost came back, and Evan Ingram dropped a pass that would have had him win that game.
Yeah, it was before Philly took the lead. It was third down, and it was basically he didn't extend his arms all the way out, and if he would have, he would have probably caught the ball, put them in field goal range, and they would just been able to take knees.
Ah, okay. So it was before Philly made that last drive. I got you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that makes more sense because I know I was like flipping the channels, just kind of watching TV with my wife, and I thought it was like right at the end. I'm like, no, I wouldn't have missed that, but hey, it's all good. All right, so just like we've been doing the last couple weeks, we've got our flashy new segment called Name That Stadium. At least it's supposed to be our flashy new segment. Sadly, we didn't have a winner for last week, but that's okay. This time you have made it a little bit more difficult. It kind of threw me off when we were first talking here. So could you, I guess, go back and just let people know where you were at last week?
Last week was Raymond James Stadium.
And what was your inspiration behind choosing that stadium?
I thought that was the best game of the week, which didn't end up really being a game, but I just thought that was probably the most entertaining game of the week.
I got you. Yeah, going into it, you thought that was going to be the most exciting. Okay. All right. Well, hey, so for anybody out there, just a reminder, if you want to play along, we would like to get you to guess the stadium that James is at. Just go ahead, throw it in the comments. And if you're the first person to get it right, you get a super special shout out in next week's show. I'm telling you, it is super special. But all right, that's enough of that. Why don't we go to our power rankings? James, if you got yours up, man, give me 1 through 5.
So 1 through 5, I have Kansas City, Pittsburgh, Seattle, Green Bay, and Baltimore. Now, I put Kansas City at 1 over Pittsburgh because what concerns me about Pittsburgh, they would be my number 1 if it weren't for the Devin Bush injury, and I have to see how this defense responds after that injury. Pittsburgh's looked better than Kansas City, even though Kansas City had a dominant performance this week. I'm concerned about the Bush injury and how that's going to affect the defense. If you remember a few years ago, they lost Ryan Shazier, and that defense didn't look the same after Shazier was hurt. Mm-hmm. And so I just have to see them one more week with that. And if they beat Tennessee this week, I'll probably bump them up to 1, depending on what happens in the Kansas City game.
I got you.
Seattle, I left at 3. I have concerns about Seattle, but I mean Wilson's Russell Wilson,
Hmm.
and until he fails, I don't know if I can drop them. Green Bay, I dropped down to 4 from 2. Did I have him at 2 or did I have him at 3 1 last week? Let me
I
double
think
check.
you had him at 1 last week.
Yeah, I had them
I
one.
think we both had him at 1. We got all excited, and of
Yeah,
course they let us
you're
down.
right.
Shame on us.
Yeah, well, I still think this is a really good team, and they just, I mean, the thing about Aaron Rodgers is if he gets behind, he starts to get all pouty and not caring about the game. And and that I think that Tampa Bay had the perfect game plan for Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And now Baltimore, I dropped them again this week because while I think this is a solid team, it concerns me that they let Philly get back into the game this past week. It's
Yeah.
like they stopped playing in the second half, and Philly was 2 point conversion away from tying the game. And I don't. There's no way that as good as I see this Baltimore team being, Philadelphia should even have been in the game at all.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And so, looking at my 1 through 5, were mostly the same set of teams, but in a different order. So I just went for it. I put Pittsburgh at 1. You might think I'm a little crazy here, but I put Tennessee at 2. Then I got Kansas City at 3, Baltimore at 4, and Seattle at 5. And so basically, looking at mine, I bumped Pittsburgh up 3 spots. Say what you want. They're 5-0, and I don't know, man. I just say fuck yeah for Big Ben. Keep it rolling. I'm gonna get on that bandwagon now. And then, honestly, with them in Tennessee, they're playing this week, so we're gonna see what happens here. One of these guys is probably gonna stay up at the top of my board, but um, with Tennessee at 2, I moved them up 4 spots. I just like what I'm seeing with both sides of the ball. I think on the defensive side, Vrabel has done some creative game planning that has kept this defense slowing other teams down. And then offensively, we've seen now this past week, it didn't matter, they were just on fire. But, before that, we've seen teams that slow down Derrick Henry. Doesn't matter because Ryan Tannehill just picks it up and makes up the difference. And so, I'm starting to get on board with Tennessee, man. I really like them. I'm kind of surprised. I believed going into the season that they were a good team, but that they were way overperforming their talent level. And now I'm thinking that I underestimated them. At 3, so I dropped Kansas City down by 1 spot, and I'm sure the vast majority of people have them sitting at number 1 again, especially with that decisive win over the Bills. That's fine. I'm good with all that. I think the big thing for them was how well they ran the ball this past week. And, I'm really just choosing to leapfrog them by 2 of the remaining undefeated teams. And, that's just the way I wanted to go. Like I said, my rankings, whatever, I'm just having some fun with it. And then Baltimore at 4, I dropped them down 1 spot. I was really tempted to have Seattle leapfrog them for some of the same reasons you talked about with that Philly game. I thought, man, Baltimore is a team they've looked amazing and they've looked a little bit suspect this year. And I just kind of thought, they should have pounded Philly just to kind of make it a statement win. And the fact that it came down to the end like that, whether they got soft in the second half or whatever, I don't know. I just didn't like it. But then, Seattle at 5, it kind of just made sense. They didn't have a game, so there was really, no reason for me to change their spot. But I tell you, the one thing with Seattle that I'm excited about, and I'm excited to see if it happens, is that there's been the rumor swirling about them potentially looking at Antonio Brown. And it would totally screw me in fantasy because I got DK Metcalf, but it would just make that team that much more electric. And
Well,
hey, I'm a big Chippewa, so I'm all for somebody giving this guy a second chance or third
what
or
I'm
fourth chance, whatever he's on now.
what I'm reading is Tampa Bay is actually going to be the team to get Antonio Brown. Brady
Ooh,
has been talking and going and talking to Brown all season to set the table for him to come to Tampa Bay with then join Brady in Tampa Bay for the entire season. I'm reading Brady's been doing.
no kidding.
Getting,
And
getting,
I knew that Antonio Brown worked out with Russell Wilson in the offseason, and there was a
Mhm.
lot of hype about that. And then I knew Brady liked him from the limited amount of time they had in New England. But hey, that'd be interesting. I think he would be better off on Seattle. That's my opinion. But I'm just hoping he gets back in the league and gets another shot.
Yeah, but that's who I'm reading. And the other team I've heard a little bit about him going to is Baltimore. I think a lot of that stems from
His cousin
um,
being there.
his cousin being there, and he worked out with Lamar in the offseason as well.
Oh, gotcha. That'd be an interesting one. See, that one's tough because the connection with Lamar and Mark Andrews is like really the only thing that matters there. I know that Hollywood Brown, he has a couple pop games here and there, but really, like from a receiver standpoint, there's not a whole lot of other action for that team this year, and so I think Antonio Brown's got to go to a place where he's going to get some looks and he's going to be able to show he's still got it. And hey, I mean, if Baltimore gets him back in the league, that's cool. I think there's better opportunities elsewhere.
Yeah, I
I,
agree. I don't think Baltimore's a good fit for him. I'm just hearing,
yeah, that's who's talking. Yeah, I got you.
yeah,
No, I mean, hey, I haven't heard anything about this one, but I've talked to you before. I'd love to see him go to Green Bay, man. Give him a 1-2 punch with Devontae Adams, and there you go. That's your way of kind of easing some of the pain with Rodgers that you just drafted a quarterback and a running back at the top of the draft.
yeah. So organizationally, what I hear, especially a lot, I hear a lot from AJ Hawk on Sports Talk, and he talks about how that organization wouldn't stand for him.
Oh no, well, hey, I can see that. I think a lot of organizations are like, we don't want to deal with that kind of a headache.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. We got another week of rumors before he can actually come back. So
Yeah, but I think anybody could sign him now. They just have to sit him for another week, right?
yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'd get on it right now. The sooner you get him into the system and get him learning your offense, the better.
Well, he really couldn't do anything until after week 8. Like he couldn't
Oh,
couldn't.
they can't give him a playbook or anything.
I don't know about giving him a playbook, but I mean, the way he's really going to learn it is by practicing, and he won't be able to practice till after week 8.
I gotcha. All right. Well, hey, we're getting close. I'm getting antsy. I want to see something happen.
Yeah.
Um, all right. Well, hey, man, hit me up with 6 through 10.
All right. So I bumped Tennessee up 5 spots to go to number 6. But
Nice.
the issue I have with Tennessee is if Romeo Crennel doesn't go for 2 in that game, Tennessee loses to Houston, or probably loses to Houston. It's a lot. They have to get the 2-point conversion to go to overtime, but also they went to overtime against Houston.
Yeah.
There's some concerns that I still have with this team. Tannehill's playing ridiculously well, and I'm impressed. And I've decided that the time in Miami was more Gase than Tannehill
Hmm.
because he's staying on that same clip he was last year. So I think this team is solid. I'm concerned a little bit because they went to overtime against Houston.
Oh, it's understandable. And I've kind of been talking up Houston all year, saying that they're more talented than their record reflected. And, I don't know, maybe they're finally under Cornell getting a little something going.
Possibly, but I need to see what happens this week before I'm willing to put them in my top 5.
I get it. I'm good with that. I got all excited. I know I could be dropping them down big time next week. Who knows?
Tampa Bay, I bumped from 8 to 7. I thought it was impressive that what they did against Green Bay. I don't know if this team is complete yet,
Hmm.
and I still think the way Green Bay's played previous weeks before they played Tampa Bay, Green Bay's been playing a lot better. They just happened to hit a team that wasn't doing anything defensively that all of a sudden had the perfect game plan for Rodgers.
Gotcha.
Los Angeles, the Rams and the Bills, I dropped each of them 2 spots. That's more of a function of Tennessee and Tampa Bay moving up so much. And then I have the Raiders at 8 or at 10. And the thing with the Raiders that concerns me is basically their whole entire offensive line is going to be out this week.
I know. That's nuts.
And they're still going to play the game, which is ridiculous. But that's neither here nor there. But I think Vegas, I think they've shown a lot this year. It hasn't been 100% consistent to maybe bump them up a little bit more. But I think they've shown a lot this year in certain games where they can get punched in the mouth and they come back. And I'm also thinking the way Carolina's playing, that was it week 1 they played Carolina?
Oh, I'd have to go back. Off the top of my head, I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember. I know they played them one of the weeks.
Yeah, take your time, man.
Week
Yeah.
1.
Week
They
one.
played them week 1, and it was a close game. And the concern was with the Raiders if it was more Carolina, or I'm sorry, if it was the Raiders just faltering and Carolina was a better team. But I think Carolina's shown that they're better than people thought they were
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
coming into the year. And I think it was more of a function of the quality of a team that Carolina actually is versus the Raiders.
I gotcha. Makes sense. Okay, on my side, I've got Tampa Bay at 6, Green Bay at 7, Buffalo at 8, New Orleans at 9, and then I've got the Los Angeles Rams at 10. And so just looking at 6, 7, I just like the way it flowed, putting Tampa Bay above Green Bay, at least for this week. And so Tampa Bay got bumped up 5 spots, while Green Bay got dropped down 6 spots on my board. And like we talked about with Tampa Bay, for all the inconsistency we've seen on both sides of the ball, it was really a statement win against the Packers. The offense was rock solid, and the defense, man, I've been screaming it for a long time that they've got so much potential, and it looked like it all came together in that game. Hopefully, they can carry that momentum, and it's not just a one-game deal, but time will tell. For Green Bay, maybe I got a little carried away moving them up to 1. I think it just kind of the way things evolved as the season went on when Kansas City lost and Green Bay was on fire and whatever else. It just sucked, man. They got beat down pretty bad by the Buccaneers, and so I just thought, okay, we're going to give you a significant drop on the rankings here. And really for them, I think it's 2 things that concern me. One of them is that the defense is just really porous at this point. They're having a hard time stopping the run. I mean, just in general, I thought this defense was going to be better than it was. But then also, it seems like a big liability for them is their offensive line. And, Bakhtiari got hurt. I think they've had some other stuff going on the offensive line. But, man, it seemed like that was a significant factor for them against the Buccaneers. And so that's something we got to keep an eye on. I heard Bakhtiari was just ruled out for this weekend, too. And I was kind of scrambling to see if I was going to adjust my picks there. But, this late in the game, I'm just going to stick with what I got. But moving on to 8 with Buffalo, I just dropped them down 1 spot. Hey, they lost to the Chiefs. It's not the end of the world. The bigger concern is that Josh Allen, he's really reverted back to his previous form, at least these last couple weeks now, which is not great. And so, he's either got to turn it around and look like he did early on in the season, or they need the defense to finally get it in gear for this team to get back on track. And I'm still surprised that their defense is playing as leaky as they are. I mean, they've, under McDermott, have been solid. And so that's abnormal, but You'd think by now they'd get it moving. At 9 with the Saints, there was no game, so no change. Also, I just kind of looked at the board around them, just kind of the way things shook out. It was fine keeping them at 9. I'm just excited. We're finally going to get to see. Well, I guess I say that, but he showed up on an injury report, Michael Thomas. So
Michael Thomas is out this week, and Emmanuel Sanders is out.
Yeah, I saw Emmanuel Sanders with the COVID, and okay, so Mike Thomas is out too. Dang, man. So that bothers me. That kind of makes me want to change my pick there too. But I'm probably going to commit to it because it is what it is. But all right, so then at 10, I got the Rams. I dropped them down 2 spots. They lost to a flailing 49ers team. I mean, I probably could have made an argument to drop them even lower than 2 spots. It's just that I still like what I'm seeing on their offensive side of the ball and on the defensive side of the ball. I think that this is more about the unpredictability of the NFL and Shanahan can get his team to play. It's just weird because, Shanahan, they early on in the year, they got like half the team freaking hurt and somehow they're still winning games. And then all of a sudden they get guys back and they're losing games that they should win. And so it just, I don't know, it confuses me. But I didn't want to hurt the Rams too much because I still think they got potential. And, that's my 6 through 10. All right, man, you want to hit me with 11 through 15?
All right, so at 11, I have Arizona. I bumped them up 1 spot. The thing with Arizona is I really like this team, and I've expected the inconsistency coming in this year. I thought they were a year away when we talked. I thought they'd do well outside the division, and in the division was where they struggled. But they seem to be playing well in the division too. So and plus, I mean, they played the Cowboys, but they thoroughly dominated that game.
Yeah.
I dropped New England down 3 spots. The thing with New England is I probably would have dropped them further, but I think the lack of practice with Cam and Cam just coming back was part of the issue in the game. But there's no way that you don't give up a touchdown and you lose a game.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't happen. And with Belichick, and that concerns me talent-wise. There.
Yeah, and I think Locke threw a pick in the 2 picks in the 4th quarter too, man.
Yeah,
I mean, geez, it was bad.
And then again, this is another instance of I don't understand why the hell Belichick went for 2 when they scored their touchdown and it would have made it 18-9. Why do you go for 2 at that point?
He's got some mad genius reason for it. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean that's the worst 2-point conversion was Houston because to go up 8 instead of go up 8, go up 9, then you get the 2-point for the 2-point conversion. That's just absolutely absurd.
Yeah.
And then I mean it's not the worst one, but it's one of the worst. It's the second worst. No.
Hey man, you've got an interim head coach who's getting a little bit long in the tooth, just saying, fuck it, I'm going to roll the dice and see what happens.
And then Washington going for 2 this past week. I mean, that just doesn't fucking make sense either. Yeah. You down the stretch, you were playing better than the Giants. You kicked a damn extra point and let it go to overtime.
Yeah, and I think didn't Ron Rivera already come out and say, they're playing to win, he's coaching to win, something like that?
Yeah, something like that. I don't understand. That was the theme of this week. Going for 2 when you shouldn't fucking go for 2.
All right. 13, man. Looks like you got the Saints.
13, I have the Saints. I couldn't drop them. I have more concerns now that with since I did my rankings with Thomas being out again and Emmanuel Sanders being out, and I don't think this team is a good team. Mm-hmm. And I want to drop them, but then again, they somehow win. Like Chicago at 14. I have them at 14 because they keep freaking winning somehow.
Yep.
And then Indy at 15. Those 3 didn't change from last week. I think they're about right for how I've seen them play the teams I have around them.
I gotcha. All right, so flipping it over to my side here, I've got Chicago at 11. I bumped them up 3 spots. Same with Indy, I got them at 12. Then I've got the Raiders sitting tight at 13. Arizona at 14, I moved them up 2. And I dropped New England down 5 spots, so I got them at 15 this week. Basically, with Chicago, it's a lot of the things you're saying, man. This team is defying logic. I mean, I felt obligated to move them up the board, man. They keep finding a way to win, and then even then, the people I've got on my board around them are losing, and so it's like I felt like I had to do it, but I like in the back of my mind, I'm still trying to temper my expectations because their offense is just super streaky, and I mean they just beat the Panthers, which they're a great story this year, but they're not exactly a powerhouse, and so it's like I'm waiting for like the other shoe to drop with the Bears, man. When's it going to fall apart? At 12 with the Colts, so I didn't get to watch this game, but I read somewhere that they were down by 21 at some point in the game, and that just makes me hesitant to bump them on my list. But it's the same thing as the Bears. They're winning games, and the people on the board are losing around them, and so I just felt compelled to bump them up a couple spots. Vegas at 13, they didn't have a game, so I didn't want to move them. And it kind of just fit with what was going on with the board. I thought, okay, we can wait another week and see what's going on. Plus, I think they've got a tough matchup coming up against the Buccaneers. And like you're saying, without an offensive line, man, I don't know. It just blows my mind that they're going to play that game. But hey, that's the NFL. 14 with Arizona. So kind of like some of the teams above them. We've seen the good and the bad with Arizona this year. And, I just picked them to beat the Cowboys. And I just picked it the other way. I picked the Cowboys to beat them last week. And it was stupid of me to do that. Arizona, they beat them down. I liked that. It's just the Cowboys, man. They're so bad that I don't want to give Arizona more credit than they probably should. With the Patriots at 15, you can blame some of that on the lack of practices due to COVID if you want. And I'm not like saying that directed at you. I'm just saying like in general, I can see why you would make that argument. I'm just shocked that a Patriots team under Belichick is sitting at 2-3 right now. And I had some concerns, if you remember talking last week, about Denver. And I ultimately picked New England. And I said they should win because Denver's got so many question marks. But I thought that the one factor to keep an eye on was Denver's defense being a really sneaky good matchup against a running quarterback like Cam Newton. And I just can't believe they freaking pulled it off, man. And so, I hit the Patriots in my rankings by 5 spots. And, at this point, we've seen how well they can play. Like the Seattle game, they put up 464 yards of offense. But now we've also seen how poorly they can play. This game against Denver, only 288 yards of offense. That's weak sauce, man. They got to get that thing figured out. All right, moving on. 16 through 20. Hit me up, man.
So at 16, I have Cleveland. I mean, Cleveland's the team I thought they were. I thought they were going to be streaky. They had a very tough matchup this past week. And Pittsburgh did what I talked about they needed to do, was basically keep Baker in the pocket.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was game plan, and I couldn't drop them for losing to one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I
smoked him a little bit, but I'll tell you mine in a little bit.
San Francisco, I bumped them up 2 spots. I thought they played really well this past week against the Rams, and I was surprised. I'm not very high on this team still, but I think the win this past week deserved a couple spots bump.
Yeah, they're showing some signs of life.
Philadelphia at 18, I left them where I was. Yeah, they played Baltimore, and I thought they showed a lot of toughness in that game, and I was surprised. And so I couldn't really knock them down much after that, after losing to Baltimore.
Makes sense.
Especially because they lost because they didn't get the point conversion basically, and I don't know if that's more Baltimore just saying, yeah, fuck it, we'll beat this team in their sleep, or if that was Philly. Miami, I bumped them up one spot. I'm really excited for 2 weeks from now when Tua starts for Miami. I think it sucks for Fitz, but I mean, Tua's the future of this franchise. And I was hearing a lot this week that actually even though you have to deal with Aaron Donald, playing the Rams is the perfect team for a rookie quarterback to start out against because they don't really do anything tricky defensively. They have very straightforward defense.
Ah, okay. That's some good insight.
So I found that very, very interesting. I can't remember who said it, and one of the sports talk shows I listened to, they were talking about that. Cincinnati, I bumped them up one spot. I think Cincinnati. The thing with Cincinnati is they need an offensive line. I think Cincinnati has shown promise with Burrow, but I bumped a team that was ahead of them down a lot, which we'll get to in the next section. So
okay,
it's just I like this team and I like what I'm seeing from this team. It's maybe the fourth best team in their division, but I mean they have a really tough division.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. All right, so flipping it over to my board, I've got Cleveland at 16. I dropped them down 4 spots. I wasn't as nice as you. I think that, my concern with them is that Stefanski, he had to bench Mayfield, claiming because he was hurt. But I've now heard rumors that they're looking at benching Mayfield anyhow because they're not happy with how he's been playing. And so if there's more going on than just an injury thing, I think that's cause for concern with Cleveland. I don't know if it would have mattered against the Steelers anyhow, but, it's just something to keep an eye on. They still have plenty of potential, in my opinion, and so we'll see what happens. I still like them. I'm just, these are the things that I'm trying to glean and read into, and, that's my basis for this. 17 with Miami, I moved them up 2 spots. We all expected them to beat the Jets. There's no doubt about that. But like you said, it's the more important story here is that it's Tua time, and it's a bummer for Fitz because he had him rolling, and that's unfortunate. But hey, they drafted Tua really high. It's time for him to come in and see what he can do. I just worry, the offensive line is pretty weak, and I like what you're saying that them playing the Rams is a good matchup for him to break it in a little bit. But aside from that, it's just, I guess, let's see how quick he gets up to speed, because I think Fitzpatrick has been able to cover up how bad that offensive line is. And a veteran quarterback, as you know, they can get through their progressions quicker. They can read the defense quicker. If Tua is needing, that extra second to get that done, that could be a problem for him later on. But we'll see. 18, I got the Chargers. No game, no change. That's simple. 19, I got San Fran. I bumped them up by 1 spot. I really wasn't expecting them to beat the Rams. They've been kind of teetering with relevance and injuries, for that matter, all year, in my opinion. And so it was nice to see them get a win, and I gave them a little bit of a bump from that. But I got to see them keep doing it now for me to get some confidence back in this team. And on top of that, this is another funny one where I read and heard at least 3 different reports this past week, just, I'm sure, purely rumors, but talk about this team wanting to trade Garoppolo. And I don't know. I'm sure a lot of it's just pure speculation, but he's coming off of 268 yards and 3 TDs, so it's just kind of strange that these kind of talks would be coming off of that. But you never know. They could just be looking at the whole season. And then 20, I got Carolina. I dropped them down 3 spots. I kind of said it last week that I thought it was easy to predict that Bridgewater was going to have an uphill battle against the Bears defense. He just hasn't really faced that kind of competition yet this year. And, it really wasn't just tough on him. DJ Moore had a handful of drops. Mike Davis had a costly fumble. It kind of just everybody had a bad day. I still think it's a feel-good story for the season, and I'm excited to see where this team goes. All right, 21 through 25, man.
At 21, I have Denver. I bumped Denver up one spot. Denver being bumped up one spot is more a function of a team being dropped that was ahead of them being dropped below them. I think this is right around the area that I think Denver is as a team. I've been pretty consistent with having them right in here, 20 to 23 for the last few weeks. That's just what I see in Denver.
Yeah.
Carolina, I bumped them up one spot even though they lost. And again, that's because the team that was ahead of them dropped below them that I think they're better than. Probably the biggest drop of the week, the biggest drop of the week for me is Dallas. I dropped them down 6 spots after that loss to Arizona. This team just looked pathetic. And then you're hearing all this stuff coming out of the locker room, how the coaches aren't prepared and the coaches they're not teaching them anything and this and that. This team is on the decline. Plus they're in like the worst division in the entire NFL, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if a 6-win team wins this division.
Yeah. I could be. And I'm just trying to think, what's the worst team to win a division? Is it 7-9?
Yeah, I think it's Seattle and 7-9 a few years ago.
Yeah, it could happen, man. I mean, this whole division's a train wreck.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just, but also if they continue on the trajectory, the question is are they going to fire McCarthy after the first year?
Yeah, no shit. This has been a disaster. Dude, I was so high on Dallas coming into this season, and
so was I.
Yeah, you talk about a freaking 180 from everything. I thought they could have won some playoff games right off the bat here, and now it's like, wow, you're like fighting to be the worst team in the league.
Yeah, and so many quote unquote experts picked them as the NFC representative for the Super Bowl, and it's like, what the fuck happened there?
And you could have made the argument. You could have made the argument, man.
Exactly. Detroit, they had that solid win against Jacksonville.
Against a hapless Jaguars team. Come on, man.
Yeah,
but I'll let you do your thing. It's your board.
they got a 2-spot bump for me. It's one. It would have been just one, but I still, even though as bad as Dallas is, I still think the Lions are worse than Dallas.
No shit. Okay.
And so I could not put them ahead of Dallas. I dropped. I don't think they're the worst team in the division. So I have a team below them in the division that I think is a lot worse than the Lions, which we'll get to. But So Lions got a 2-spot bump to 24 after beating Jacksonville. And then Houston, I didn't move Houston. I thought they played really well against this past week against Tennessee. And again, if they wouldn't have gone for 2 to go up 9 instead of kicking the extra point to go up 8, they probably would have won that game.
Yeah, I got you. All right, so switching it over to my side here, the first 3 teams I have in this this tier, if you will, I was probably a little bit aggressive with all 3 of them, and going into this week, I never would have thought I'd be putting them ahead of some of these other teams on my board, but man, I spent actually a fair amount of time this week kind of looking at them, and I feel more comfortable now than I did before. And so at 21, I got Denver. Despite those late game picks with Drew Lock, They still beat the Patriots, man. I still think that's a big win. And so I liked bumping them up by 5 spots on my board. I think with Locke back, they're just going to move in the right direction from here. Just my opinion. 22, I got Detroit, so I was kind of just poking at you, but I got Detroit higher up on my board than you do. And it's weird, it's a bittersweet thing. A part of me, as you know, wanted them to get their shit pushed in so that they could fire Matt Patricia. But realistically, I picked them to win that game, and the logical thinker in me saw this team coming off of a bye week with the head coach sitting on the hot seat, and they had to beat Jacksonville as solidly as they did. And so whatever. I mean, it is what it is. I got them at 22 now. 23, this one you might get a kick out of, but I bumped Atlanta up, man. I thought you made a good choice picking them over Minnesota last week. I had the Vikings, stupid me. Putting up 40 points proved that they still have some life left in them. And I'm sure Dan Quinn, he's sitting out there somewhere bummed out that they didn't get this going a couple weeks ago. But I think, hey, they can win with offense. We know that. They just got to do it. 24, I dropped Houston down 1 spot. I like that they're showing some signs of life. They got the win a couple weeks ago when Cornell had his first game going. And then, like you mentioned, this past week, man, it was a really good fight that they put up against Tennessee, who's been red hot. And I believe Houston has talent on both sides of the ball. They just need to put it together. And then lastly, here at 25, I got Philly. The way that game ended, they kept it interesting, and so I didn't want to beat them up too bad for playing the Ravens. And then hey, last night they snuck out a win against the Giants, so that's cool too. But that didn't go into my board pick for this week, but it may be a factor next week, so we'll see. All right, 26 through 30.
All right, so 26, Jacksonville got a bump up 1 spot, even though they look pathetic. I think they're right around where they should be, and a team I had ahead of them got dropped below them, so it just ended up a 1 spot bump for Jacksonville. The Chargers, it's the same situation. They got bumped up 1 spot. The thing with the Chargers is I have to see them hold a lead and win a game.
Yeah.
And that's my hesitation with this team. They've been up in a couple games and they couldn't close it out. And I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know what it is. If they just the talent's just not there. I don't know. And so I can't really. I want to bump them up higher because I like what I see out of this team, but I just can't bump them up higher until I see that. Now Atlanta got a 2 spot bump after beating the shit out of Minnesota. The reason why I picked Atlanta to beat Minnesota was simply because they fired their head coach, and I thought there would be motivation there.
Yeah, it was a nice rally.
Yeah, and it's the same thing that happened with Houston. The week after they fired their coach, they won a game. And so they got the 2nd spot because I dropped Minnesota to 29, and after that beatdown, I couldn't have Minnesota above Atlanta. And also, Minnesota traded away Yannick Ngakoue this week.
Yep.
So I think they're starting to tear it down.
It seems like the blow up is coming.
Yeah. And then the Giants got a 1 spot bump basically because they beat Washington. So Washington dropped below the Giants. And then the Jets are the worst team in the league, probably the worst team in the history of the NFL. Fun stat with the Jets, they have been outscored by 110 points this year.
It's ugly. It's so ugly. And yet Adam Gase is still sitting there holding down the fort.
Well, I don't think they're going to fire Gase because I think they want to go 0-16 at this point and get Lawrence.
Yeah, and then they could put it on Gase. You know,
and they don't want to take that risk of winning a game after firing their head coach like Atlanta did. Houston.
Having a rally and then you lose out on Lawrence.
Yeah, and fun fact about the NFC East is the Giants and Washington are like they're both like one or two wins away from leading the division
Yeah.
and one win out of last place in the NFL.
Yeah, that's sad. And I get it. We're still in the first half of the year, but that's still sad. Really
Yeah.
sad. All right, so because you just you hit the Giants there at the end, I'll just start backwards. I moved them up one spot to put them at 30. Also, I just thought, hey, it only makes sense. They just beat Washington, so they should be above Washington. So I had them at 30. Now going back up to 26, I got Cincinnati. I dropped them down two spots. After that, I got Minnesota. I dropped them by 6. Then I've got Dallas at 28. I dropped them down by 6 also. I think they're toast. And then I got Jacksonville at 29. I had them stand pat there for now. So looking at the Bengals at 26, for having just barely lost to a team that seemed like clearly superior in so many ways, I'm surprised that I'm hearing all the trade rumors I am about Cincinnati. John Ross, well, I think he wants out, so that's different. But then I heard they're looking at, I believe, Carlos Dunlap on defense. People are talking about him getting traded. And just, it's like, come on, man. This is a young team with a number 1 overall pick quarterback. You should be hanging on to everybody you can so that this guy can notch a few wins and build some confidence as the season goes on. I would not be stripping down this team at all. No way. Minnesota 27. This one kind of sucks for me because I've been defending Cousins all year. And at this point, I just got to say, hey, the dude's having a shit season. There's no other way of putting it. I mean, fucking people are talking about the Jets trading Darnold to the Vikings as being the answer. I don't think that's the answer. But the fact that they're saying things like that, it means that Cousins he's shit the bed at this point. But it's not just him. The whole team sucks. The defense, I mean, they just let up 40 points, man. I think they're at rock bottom. I think it's time to blow it up, move on from Zimmer. We'll see if it happens. Dallas at 28. Hey, same kind of thing. I feel like an idiot. I hung on to hope with them for this long. And even last week, I was kind of saying, hey, without Dak, this is going to be a team that's forced to play complementary football, and I thought that would be good for them. And then what do you know? Zeke all of a sudden has fumbleitis. I don't know, man. It's their offensive line. I mean, James, you probably know it just as well as I do. They've not been getting talked about enough. This is a team that used to have the best offensive line in the league, and honestly, with all the injuries and stuff that's gone on there, I would say it's safe to say they're one of the bottom offensive lines this year. And so, it's kind of like what Jerry Jones was saying just a week ago or whatever it was. It's time to adjust the expectations. I held out hope too long. Shame on me. 29 with Jacksonville. This team's on a skid. I mean, I already got them down so low. I didn't really think I could move them lower. But the thing that sticks out is that Minshew looks drastically different than he did at the start of the season. And I know he's still a young passer, but I was expecting some more development. I was expecting him to get better as the season went along, not regress. It just seems to me like he's trying to do too much. They've got him throwing way too much, especially because they've had the run game working at times, at least. But then he's just kind of thrown to ghosts, man. And they were talking about it in that Detroit game that they've been telling him just pick a spot on the field and throw, and the guy will get there. And we saw it in that game. There was a couple times, man, he just launched the ball, and like nobody was even near it. And so I don't know. I just think that there's got to be more to it than that. It was just an ugly, ugly game for him. And then I already hit you with 30 with the Giants. All right, man. Bottom feeders, 31-32.
Washington, I dropped them below the Giants because they lost to the Giants. And then the winless Jets, who I think at this point are scared to win a game because they don't want to lose that first pick.
That's it? Enough said?
That's it.
All right, so I've got Washington at 31. I dropped them down one spot, like I was just kind of saying. I think they actually played a pretty good game against the Giants. I think the problem was that they couldn't finish their drives, and their defense really wasn't that bad. They just bent a little bit too much and they lost. But, Washington is a team to me that I still like in the bottom tier, I still like. I'm not saying like they're going to come out of nowhere and make the playoffs, but, I still like them that they can win some games because they do have a great defensive line. They have shown signs of life on offense. It's just that they got to finish, and they're going to get there. It's going to take some time, but Ron Rivera will get this team on track at some point. And this might not be the year, but they'll get better. And then the Jets at 32. This one just pisses me off. It seems to me like, maybe like you're saying, they want to be last place so they can lock in Trevor Lawrence. I have heard a ton about the prospect of them trading Darnold. Fuck it, get rid of the guy, man. He sucks. So I just don't know that they're going to get anything good in return for him. And I think everybody was expecting him to lose to the Dolphins. I just think it's you're giving Gase a free pass if you're saying we're not going to fire you because Darnold was injured and you had a backup quarterback. I don't know, man. To me, they should have fired his ass. This was the week to do it. But I think they'll get plenty of other opportunities. But I don't know. At this point, it's kind of like if you're not going to do it soon, you're not going to do it at all. You're going to wait till the end of the year. And it would be a shame if they went 0-16 and they could have stopped midseason and said, this guy's a problem. If having been a Lions fan and seen the team go 0-16, I think at some point you got to pump the brakes and say, hey, we're going to fire this asshole. We still may go 0-16, but we're going to tell you in the middle of the year that we're fucking scrambling to try and do something. I mean, you can't just let the ship sink and just stand there and watch. I don't know, my opinion. All right, so enough of that. Time to move on to the Week 7 picks. And just real quick here, I'll give everybody an update. I pulled ahead by one game. James, it's been a nail biter so far. Honestly, I would have expected by now one of us would be farther ahead. But, I think it just goes to show we're a good matchup with our picks, at least so far. We still need to get our hit rate up. We're sitting at 64% and 65% respectively. But, hey, we were off to a good start last night. We got the right pick with Philly, and hopefully that carries into the weekend. Also, on just a side note for me, which I was telling you about the other day, I basically freaking crashed Excel over developing my model. So I am a little bit nervous about my picks for this week. Some of them I kind of had to go with my gut because I'm not all the way back up with my new revamped model. But either way, I'm going to own them no matter what they are. So why don't we just jump into Sunday, and we'll start off with Pittsburgh at Tennessee. Who do you like, man?
So I think this is a really good game. Interesting thing I heard earlier today was this is the 6th time in the Super Bowl era that 2 5-0 or better teams met. In the previous 5 times, the team that won the game won the Super Bowl that year.
That's an intense stat.
So basically, if that holds true, by picking this game, I'm picking the Super Bowl winner.
So no pressure. Who's it going to be, James?
I'm going with the Steelers in this game. It's going to be a nail-biter hell of a game. But I just think, with Devin Bush being out, that concerns me on the defense. But what's-his-face is out for the season for Tennessee, Luan.
Oh, yeah, Taylor Lewan, yep.
Yeah, so I struggled mightily with this game. Struggled mightily.
Yeah, I can see how you would do that. Pittsburgh, they've been so great at stopping the run. But I mean, you just saw Derrick Henry frickin' rip off 200 yards. So have fun stopping that guy. And you're promising young linebackers out for the season now. So it can be dicey. It can be dicey.
Yeah.
But I agree with you, man. I'm going with the Steelers. You got to pick a team. I like them both, and they're one on my board, so I'm sticking with them. All right, moving on. Dallas at Washington.
So, what this game boiled down to for me is Dallas's offense. Dallas as a team looks ridiculously terrible. I think Washington's defense is slightly better, and that gave Washington the edge in this game. Even though I said at the beginning of the year they were only going to win one game this year, but I did not think Dallas was going to be this shitty.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with Washington.
Nice. I'm going with Washington as well. This is one where, hey, I told you my model is sort of in shambles at the moment, but when I looked at it, it actually gave Dallas the edge. But, like I said, the model's kind of a work in progress right now. And so I did some deeper digging into some of the stats for each team, and I tried to make some adjustments for Dallas without Dak. And, man, I don't know. I looked at the offensive line for Dallas versus the defensive line of Washington. And, I looked at Washington's offense. They've actually been able to do some stuff, even though they've not necessarily been able to finish. I don't know. I just think that it's the trenches that's going to be the difference maker, and the edge goes to Washington in this one. And hey, I don't know, man. Like you're saying with McCarthy, maybe they should fire his ass, man. He came in, he was supposed to be the savior, and this was a playoff-ready team they're in shambles.
Well, the only reason why he hired Nolan as the defensive coordinator was because years ago, in wherever Nolan was head coach at, Nolan hired McCarthy as a coordinator, which which turned into a head coaching job in Green Bay and stuff. So it was kind of like a favor back, basically, is what I'm hearing. And that's who would have thought that Marinelli was that important?
Yeah, it's sad times. Yeah, and I think Marinelli's the defensive line coach for the Raiders now.
Yeah.
So good for him, man. I'm glad he's still got a spot in the league. He was not head coach material, as we know as Detroit Lions fans, but he's solid defensively. And it sucks, I mean, you heard me talk up Mike Nolan at the beginning of the year. I just thought, man, the guy was always a real class act, and I don't know. I like that. I thought he was a true professional, but man, he's just out of touch or something. It's just not working.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so moving on here, we got Buffalo at the New York Jets next. Who do you like?
Central Michigan could be playing the fucking Jets this week, and I would pick Central Michigan to win the fucking game.
Yes. James, it was like as the last word was rolling off my tongue, I'm like, did I really just ask you to pick a winner in this game? I mean, it's obvious. It's the fucking Bills. So
yeah, exactly.
And you know what? I saw that the Bills injury report is like a mile long going into this game too, and it's not going to matter. It's not even going to be close.
Yeah. Fuck you, me, and 9 of our friends could play the fucking Jets this week and beat them.
Hey, I'm in. Let's do it. Okay, so next up, I got Carolina at New Orleans.
So earlier in the week, I was on the Saints. But then I start hearing the injury report, and I start thinking about it, and I hear that Thomas is out and Sanders is out, and switched me over to Carolina.
Yeah, so all right, so I picked the Saints, and I don't know, I'm sticking with them for right now. If you give me some wiggle room going into Sunday, maybe I'll flip, but if I got to own it today, I'm going with the Saints because that's who I picked. But yeah, I thought Thomas was playing. And without him and Emmanuel Sanders, I think that changes things a little bit. But, the other factor that, I think some people are talking about, which I think is noteworthy, is that, Bridgewater, he did play for the Saints for 2 years in as recent as last season. And so I think that that's going to help Carolina. I think, he knows how to beat that defense because he's done it, having been on that team for a couple of years. And so I think that gives Carolina, a benefit going into this game. Hey, either way, I got a pick tonight, so I'm sticking with the Saints. Maybe I'll play with my model and beg you for mercy and change it up over the weekend, but I'll stick with them for now.
Well, you always have till kickoff. We talked about that a couple last week or the week before or whatever. You always have to, once the game starts, that's when you can't change shit.
Yeah, then it's locked in for real. I got you.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. So, maybe I'll play around with it tomorrow, and I'll let you know if I change things up. All right, so this next one, we got Green Bay at Houston.
All right, so Green Bay in Vegas is favored 5 points, 3 points, whatever, in this game. They were favored against Tampa Bay. The last 10 times Aaron Rodgers has lost against the spread, they have beat the spread the following week.
So that's all you needed.
That and plus Houston sucks, so Green Bay.
All right, so I think Houston is a lot better than what their record portrays. And, I actually spent a lot more time thinking about this game than I think maybe you did.
I spent time thinking about it. I was summing it up in the fact that basically Aaron Rodgers, after he doesn't beat the spread one week, he beats the spread the following week.
Yeah, he just lights it up. I got you.
10 times in a row. This is number 11.
I got you. So it makes sense. I kind of just thought the Packers aren't going to lose 2 in a row with the way they started the year. I think like Aaron Rodgers was saying last week, they needed somebody to give him a wake-up call, however he put it, smack him in the face or whatever, I don't know. But, the same message. They needed somebody to tell them, hey, man, you guys aren't unstoppable. And it was an embarrassing game for them. The one thing I am nervous about picking Green Bay is that I did hear just a little while ago that Bakhtiari is going to be out. And, it looked like Rodgers was getting messed up real good in that game against Tampa Bay. I think that could be a factor. And so I'm going to look at this tomorrow. I don't know that I'm going to change it, but I'm sticking with Green Bay for now. All right, next up we got Cleveland at Cincinnati. So
earlier I picked Cincinnati to beat Cleveland, and a few weeks ago, whenever they played, what was that, week 4, week 3, whatever the hell it was.
Mm-hmm.
And Cincinnati failed me. Basically the same teams coming in this week. No real changes. But I think there's turmoil in Cleveland.
Yeah, something's bubbling. Yeah.
Something's brewing there, and that puts me on Cincinnati.
I gotcha. And so I agree, man. Luckily, I picked Cleveland the last time around, and it was weird because it was like they dominated that game when you watched it. But then at the end, it was a close game. Cincinnati came back and made it close. And so, I think that Cincinnati is every week they're learning. They got a young quarterback. He's going to get better. He's going to play smarter. And then I think with Cleveland, like you're saying, there's stuff going on. And let's not forget, Chubb is still out. Apparently Baker Mayfield's on the fritz, whether it's injury related or trade rumors, or we're just going to bench his ass. I don't know what's going on there, but it's weird because they're sitting at 4-2, and yet everybody's talking about this team needs to be picked apart and stuff happening. And I don't know. So either way, I'm going with Cincinnati. I think they win this one. They get it back.
And Mixon's out for Cincinnati, though.
I am aware of that, and Mixon. So I think I read, he's under 4 yards a carry this year, despite that one like monster game he had a couple weeks ago. Um, I'm not totally worried about Mixon being out. I think Giovanni Bernard is still a solid running back as a backup. And I'm sure they got some other guys that are going to sprinkle in that are going to, they're going to take their chance and they're going to try and prove something. So maybe they play well because of that. But either way, I'm sticking with Cincinnati for now.
Yeah.
All right, man. Detroit at Atlanta. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. No. I already saw your pick. You're taking Detroit. I got it.
Yeah.
Hit me up. Tell me why.
I don't have a good reason.
You just love them.
I haven't seen, even though Atlanta just beat the shit out of Minnesota, I still didn't see enough to say that this team's getting it together.
Yeah.
And the Lions, yeah, they were playing Jacksonville, but if you go back a couple weeks before that, they have glimpses of getting it a little bit together.
I got you.
I just and I want to cheer for the Lions this week because they're playing the Falcons.
Okay. Fair enough. So I went with the Falcons in this one. And you know what? When I was doing my rankings, James, I tell you, man, I was thinking in my mind that I was picking an underdog in this game. And then the last thing I do after I make my picks, I go and I check what the spread is. And fucking Atlanta's actually favored to win this game. And so I thought, okay, here we go. I'm picking another favorite. But whatever. I'm sticking with the Falcons. The Lions, man, they just pissed me off so much. That's really what it is. I was hoping for some weird black magic last week by picking them to beat the Jags, and that shit didn't happen. And I don't know, man. I think with Atlanta, and you said it, it's a lot like the Texans were when Romeo Crennel was appointed the interim head coach. They had to rally around him, and that helped him. I think that can help. I think that can happen with Raheem Morris. I think that, they played well last week. And, I just heard something that the owner was talking about. He's basically got an 11-game tryout to put his stamp on the team and see what he can do. And so I think that when you hear something like that, it's like an endorsement that this is my shot. I got to fucking make it happen. And so, and on top of that, I still think maybe if the Lions lose, they'll fire Patricia. It's probably not going to happen, but
So what you just said is the opposite of what I heard when he was asked. The quote I heard from Blank.
Oh, you're talking about the owner. Okay.
Yeah. From the quote I heard from Blank was, "What would it take for Raheem Morris to have a chance at the job?" And the response was, "Go 11-0."
No shit. All right. Well then, yeah, I definitely heard it different.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Well, so be it. Then he's got to do it.
Yeah.
So he knows he's got to win.
He knows he's got to win. It might not be a literal statement, but
yeah.
Like I said, I just don't think they have enough together.
No, and listen, because we're going to go on just a little tangent. It's when you fire a coach mid-season, in my opinion, I don't think you should ever stick with the interim head coach because that guy is likely there because of the old head coach. And so to me, I think you got to have a clean break from everyone. And you're telling the interim guy, hey, listen, you have a chance to showcase your skill to everybody else in the league. But at the end of the year, I'm moving on. I need a fresh start. I wouldn't take that chance if it was me. I would need a full new regime. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to the picks. We got Tampa Bay at Las Vegas. And I know
So
you like the Raiders without an offensive line.
I was all set to pick the Raiders to win this game. All set. Then the COVID bug hit, and their offensive line is, I don't know how many players they're going to have from their starting offensive line. So it bumped me back over. It was very close, and it was very closely the Raiders over the Bucks. So, but it bumped me back to the Bucks.
Gotcha. Okay, so I picked the Bucks, and you know, honestly, I really didn't dig that deep into it. I just saw all the stuff about the offensive line, and I just said, that's all I need to hear for this one. I'm taking Tampa Bay. Now, the one thing that I want to point out that I keep hearing this whole past week, I keep hearing people are talking about how interesting it is and how exciting it is that Brady's going to be playing a game in Las Vegas. And I don't know what the fuck that has to do with anything. Like, unless there's like something going on in the background where Brady's like some crazy avid gambler, what does it matter that he's playing in Vegas? I mean, it's just, and I don't know. Hey, maybe he is some crazy gambler and he's going to show up to the game all hungover and on tilt or something. I don't know. But otherwise, why is it such a big deal that he's playing in Vegas? Just because it's a new city and he's played, freaking 18 whatever years all across the U.S. I don't know. I just think it's stupid.
Yeah, I don't fucking get it either.
I think the story, like we've pointed out, is the Raiders' offensive line, and because of that, I think Tampa Bay keeps rolling. I think it's actually a shame for the Raiders if this game does not get rescheduled because, I mean, it's the COVID nightmare, man. In the NFL, one game can be the difference maker before making the playoffs and not. And we're going to have a team play a fucking game when clearly they should not be out there. I don't know. That just blows my mind, man.
So earlier today, Gruden apparently said something along the lines with guaranteeing the game was going to be played. I don't fucking get it. You have two players, yeah, the starting quarterback, but you have two players on the fucking Patriots get COVID, or maybe three players, whatever, however many they fucking had, not the entire offensive line, which if you don't have the starting offensive line there, that's clearly a health and safety issue for the quarterback. And the New England Patriots fucking lose their quarterback, and they're like, oh shit, no, we can't have the Patriots play without their damn fucking quarterback. So
yeah, your background just wigged out.
Yeah, okay. That's fine. It was up there long enough.
Yeah, it's cool. No, it's all good.
So anyways, you can't have the fucking Patriots play with their quarterback, so let's postpone and revamp the entire fucking schedule to cater to the goddamn Patriots. Vegas doesn't have a fucking offensive line, but who cares if Derek Carr gets hurt? They're not fucking...
Yeah, they don't like him anyhow, right? So
yeah, let's make up the fucking tuck rule against the Raiders just so we can have New England beat them in the fucking playoffs. Anyways...
Hey,
sorry.
You feel very passionately about this. I get it, man. It just doesn't seem fair. And, life's not fair. Hopefully John Gruden can upset the world here and find a way to pull it out because I hope the Raiders win some games. And I would love it if they made the playoffs, man. I love John Gruden. I think he's an awesome coach. Great personality. He tells you how it is. And I don't know. What else can I say? All right, so moving on here, man. We got Jacksonville at the Los Angeles Chargers.
All right, Jacksonville and the Chargers. I'm on the Chargers on this one. I just don't think Jacksonville is that good, and I see my camera's frozen, so hopefully you can still hear me. Yeah,
I can still hear you. And you can try and shut it off and turn it back on, see if maybe that fixes it. With this game, I'm going with the Chargers as well. And I just think that Herbert has been on fire, even though they've not really been winning. And Minshew has been faltering. Apparently so much so that this is another one of these rumors. Man, I don't know what it is about this week. I've heard nothing but rumor mill stuff about like every team. and I've heard that they're talking about benching Minshew. I don't even know who the hell they have behind him, but it's tough, man. I think the Chargers defense is still solid, and offensively they've been doing good with Herbert. Jacksonville's defense is just atrocious, and so I think that the Chargers take this one easily. And really, all I want to know is, at the end of the day, if Jacksonville loses, is this team ever going to be thinking about firing Marrone? And I don't know. I think going into the year, they were planning on sucking and just having him ride it out. It was a weird thing, and we talked about it, but I think that we need to see another, at least one or two mid-season firings. That's how bad some of the teams have been this year, my opinion.
Yeah. So going into last night's game, there was 10 teams in the fucking NFL that had 0 or 1 win.
Yeah, that's sad, man. That's sad times.
That's ridiculous. Now it's 9 because Philadelphia now has 2.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it's weird. Just talking about Philly for a second. Okay, so Philly, let's just say, like you were saying earlier, maybe all it takes is 6 wins to win that division. They get into playoffs, that could arguably save Peterson's job. And I like Doug Peterson. I think he's a great coach. It's just that, man, when you have this kind of a train wreck of a season, you got to think about making a change, man.
Definitely.
All right, so we're moving on here, and I see you're still working out some technical difficulties on your end. No pressure, but the next game we got San Fran at New England.
All right, so this one, I'm on San Francisco. Even though the last time Bill Belichick started the season 2-3, it was like 2001, and they fucking won the Super Bowl that year.
Oh shit! I didn't know that.
But it's still. I think this New England team has issues.
Yeah.
So I'm on San Francisco, even though I don't think San Francisco is really that good. I had to pick a team.
Yeah, no, I got you. Yeah, you're picking the lesser of two evils, and I'm going with the 49ers in this game as well. I don't like betting against Bill Belichick, but I'm doing it. And I think, to me, it's really more about betting against Cam Newton. And it's kind of like the game last week against Denver, where if you have a defense that's good at stopping the run and, slowing down a running quarterback like Cam Newton is, I think that they got a shot at winning. And the 49ers, they've got, as you know, a whole bunch of injuries on the defensive line, but they also have one of the deepest defensive lines in the league. And then on top of that, I like their linebackers, man. And so, I think that they can slow down Cam Newton from running the ball. And when you look at his game logs, he's got 3 out of 4 games this year with less than 200 passing yards. And so basically he lit it up against Seattle, and he's been like subpar otherwise. And so I think if they can force him to throw the ball, that's the difference maker in this game. I am a little bit nervous because the one thing I did read is that it would be the first time since 2008 that the Pats would lose 2 home games in a row. But I think it's going to happen. I like the 49ers. All right, next up we got Kansas City at Denver.
Kansas City. I mean, Denver, they've had some solid performances. I just don't think they're good enough to beat Kansas City.
Enough said?
Enough said.
I'm going with Kansas City as well. I don't think that Kansas City's going to run all over Denver like they just did to the Bills. And I think last week the way that Denver, Cam had that one big run. Other than that, they really did slow him down. I think that they'll be able to slow down Clyde Edwards-Helaire a little bit. But it's not going to matter. I think Kansas City can beat them with the passing game. And so that's all that's going to matter. Denver's offense is anemic at best. They can't be trusted, and Kansas City has a lot of ways to win. I do think this Kansas City's defense is suspect, especially against the running game. And Philip Lindsay might have a big game, and that maybe keeps if they commit to running the ball, maybe that keeps them in the game a little bit. But I think Kansas City takes it at the end. That's all I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Okay, next up we got Seattle at Arizona.
So I think this is the third one that we're different on. Basically, this game, what it's going to boil down to is who has the ball last. Seattle's defense can't stop the fucking pass. I could throw for 1,000 yards on this team, no problem. Not really 1,000, hyperbolically, of course, and Kyler Murray he really didn't have a solid game against Dallas, and they still put up 35.
Yeah.
So I think Arizona gets that one last possession and takes the game.
It could happen, man. It could happen. But yeah, so I'm going with Seattle. And man, I ran out of time looking at some of the matchups, but I saw just really quick some headline about Seattle having a curse at State Farm Stadium. I don't know if you've heard anything about that. I know you got some interesting sources, but it was something about going back to even when they played there in the Super Bowl and all this stuff. They're saying that weird things happen to the Seahawks when they play at the stadium, and so I don't know. Like I said, I got to look into it more, but I'm going with Seattle. Russell Wilson's on fire. I think he's on a mission to break some records. And I think I saw something that he needs 3 touchdowns to beat Peyton Manning's record for TDs through the first 6 games or something like that. I don't know. But I like Seattle, and Arizona's without Chandler Jones. I think that hurts him. I mean, it's not like it's fresh off the presses. You knew that, but I just think the Seahawks win this game. So that's my pick. Okay, moving on to Monday night, we got Chicago at the Los Angeles Rams.
So, I have no confidence in Chicago.
We say that every week, don't we?
Exactly. We say that every week, and every fucking week, besides one, Chicago fucking somehow wins the game. But I'm still going to go with the Rams because I don't have the faith in Chicago.
No, I agree. I'm going with the Rams as well. To me, when I look at these teams, I think, okay, both teams are solid on defense. Even though this year they've each had kind of games where they've looked suspect. But, on paper, looking at the roster, these defenses are rock solid. On the offensive side of the ball, I trust the Rams way more than I trust the Bears. And, it's not to say that the Bears can't come out of left field and rip one off and surprise us. They've done it this year. I just think it's that simple. I think that, I could say maybe the defenses are a scratch, but the Rams are superior offensively, and so I'm giving them the edge. Okay, last game, looking out towards next Thursday, we got the Atlanta Falcons at Carolina Panthers, man. Who do you like in that one?
Early prediction would be Carolina. I have to delve further into this game and see what happens this weekend, but I think Carolina is a better all-around team than what Atlanta's shown. And plus, who knows? After losing to Detroit, Atlanta might blow it up further. I've been hearing rumors that they're going to trade Julio. I've been hearing rumors that they're going to get rid of Matt Ryan. Yeah. I've heard rumors that they're going to get rid of their entire defense. I've heard rumors that they're just going to sell the team or stop playing football and just open an ice cream shop. I don't know what. I don't know what the fuck is going on in Atlanta, but I just think Carolina's more cohesive as a team.
I gotcha. So I'm going with Atlanta for now. And I know I'm being a contrarian here because Carolina already beat them. And this game is at Carolina. I just, when I look at when I look at teams that I think are within the same range, not necessarily like equal, but similar, oftentimes, it's a one and one thing throughout the season. One team will win a game, and then the other team will come back and win a game. I just don't think Carolina's that much better that they're going to sweep them. I don't know why. That's just all I'm going with. If they start picking it apart and they trade Julio or Matt Ryan or any of these guys, you bet your ass I'll be making a flip before next Thursday. But I think a lot of these players know that. I think that they know that they're all being evaluated, and so I think because of that, they're going to be playing that much harder. And so I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Time will tell. I thought they would have gotten some wins with Dan Quinn, and they didn't. So whatever. I mean, it is what it is.
So going back to the Arizona-Seattle game.
Yeah. Did you try and look up the curse thing?
I tried to look up the curse, and apparently Russell Wilson has one loss
At State
in
Farm?
Arizona at State Farm against the Cardinals. And that
Okay.
was his rookie year. Against the Cardinals, since Russell Wilson's been there, the Cardinals are 1-6-1 at home against the Seahawks.
So I wonder I'll have to go back and dig that, and I wonder what it could have been that would have been a curse if they're tearing it up.
And then the Cardinals at centrally linked field in the last 7 are 5-2.
No shit. It's bizarre.
So it just references the Brent Hundley revenge game and the Earl Thomas Bird game.
Oh yeah, where he flipped the fans. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
But what I found doesn't really say much about it.
Yeah, I'll have to go digging later on and see if I can find what it was. Like I said, it just caught like it caught like the corner of my eye. I was looking. I was like, "What a curse!" At State Farm Stadium, and hey, maybe It's like that Dumb and Dumber thing. Slippy, slappy, blah blah. Look at the thing. Oh, Samsonite. Oh, I was way off. Way off. I don't know. Who knows? It could be something like that.
There is a reference to the curse, but it just doesn't say a curse, but it just doesn't say what it is.
What it is? All right. Well, at least you found that.
Somebody said something about reversing the curse, but it doesn't say what the fuck the curse is.
Yeah, and I mean, if Russell Wilson's only got one loss there, doesn't seem like there's much of a curse.
Oh, wait, no, it was Buda Baker that said something about breaking the curse.
Oh, well then, yeah, that changes it totally. All right, well, hey, let's move on here. We got our picks in, and hey, I'm on the fence with some of them, but we made them for tonight. So now the last segment that we have snuck in here these last couple weeks is the question of the week, which we have yet to have somebody answer. Maybe this will be the lucky week. And I was going to have the question originally be, will the Jets fire Adam Gase after they lose this weekend? Because we know they're going to lose this weekend. But I don't think that that's a good question because they should have fired him already, and they haven't. And so instead I would change it to say, will there be another midseason firing? And if so, who? And based off of that, James, just on the fly here, what do you think?
Will there be another midseason firing?
And while you're thinking, I'll give you my opinion on it. I think it should be Adam Gase, but if it's not going to be Adam Gase, I think another likely candidate, like we talked about a few minutes ago, is Doug Marrone, which it's a weird thing. Seems like they could have fired him by now, and they didn't either. So maybe not him. But the one that I think we might have talked about it a little bit last week, not a lot of people are talking about this yet, but I think they should be, is Mike Zimmer in Minnesota. And we talked about him earlier blowing up this team. Dude, they're sitting at 1-5, man. This team screams dysfunction everywhere you look. And really, the only thing they got going on for them, in my opinion, is that Justin Jefferson has been everything they were hoping he would be. You know, he had a slow start in week 1 and week 2, but the guy has been lights out ever since then.
Yeah.
Other than that, man, Zimmer, he has no control over this team right now. They're horrible. I would bounce him, my opinion.
See, I would say Zimmer, but didn't they like literally like last, like in the off season, give him an extension and like a 4-year extension, I think.
Well, sometimes you make a mistake.
I think, what's his, Anthony Lynn has a shot at being fired this year.
Yeah, I know. You know what? You did mention him last week, and I didn't really think about him again. I guess I'm so high on Herbert that I'm like, they're going to win games. But you're right. They only have one win, right?
Yeah. And not only that, they're giving up leads.
Yeah. Well, I guess
that's concerning.
Yeah, I mean, I guess let's talk about it because we both picked them to beat Jacksonville. If they lost to Jacksonville and they're still sitting at 1 win after week 7, do you think they'd pull the plug on him?
Have they had their bye week? Yeah, they just had it. Right? They just had their bye week this past week.
Yeah. I don't think they'll fire him. I think they like him a lot, and I think they know they got a rookie quarterback. Derwin James out for the year. I think he's going to get sort of a free pass for this season, my opinion. I mean, if they lose to Jacksonville in horrible fashion, maybe not. Maybe we'll be surprised. But I don't know. Just everything I hear about Anthony Lynn, it just sounds like they like his professionalism. They like what he's done with the team. They just need that missing piece, which is Herbert, and they got to give him time to develop now.
Yeah, but I don't know if they lose to Jacksonville if they fire him. I'm trying to pull up their schedule real quick.
Yeah.
To see.
Yeah, see who's next if they went on a streak here, continuing to lose. Well, while you're looking at that, I'll just remind anybody who's still listening, if you want to respond to the question of the week, please hit us up. Throw your thoughts into the comments section. We want to know. And similar to the Name That Stadium segment, I will give you a super special shout out next week.
I think it's possible if they lost to Jacksonville this week, yeah, they would fire him. But I would think more if they lost, if in any of the next 3-4 games, they either lost or had leads that they lost. I think that's the key, is holding the lead. Like if they lose and they're down the entire game, that's one thing. But if they have the opportunity to win and the team can't hold the lead, I think that's what's problematic. And I could see that happening in any of the next 4 games, really, because they have, after Jacksonville, they have Denver, then Vegas, then Miami. But definitely, if somehow they figured out how to lose to the Jets,
oh well, yeah,
his ass would be gone.
Yeah, I gotta believe that would be it. Yeah, it shouldn't happen.
That shouldn't happen, but I just think
that would be the nail in the coffin.
Denver, they have a solid shot at having a lead in the game. Vegas, they have a shot at having a lead in the game and possibly blowing it. Then Miami, it's just. They have a relatively easy next 4 weeks, aside from Vegas, and if they don't come out at the other end of it at least 2-2, then I could see them firing him.
Gotcha. Well, let's see how it shakes out. All right, man. Well, that was the question of the week. Do you have any final thoughts for tonight?
just don't go for fucking 2 when you're up when it would put you
Okay.
up by when you're up by a touchdown after scoring and you take the extra point, then it's 8 points. Don't go for 2 to try to put up a 9 and get fucking greedy.
Yeah, so that's not your final thought for me. That's your advice for the league.
Yes, exactly.
Coach James set you straight. Don't forget it.
Exactly.
All right, cool. Well, hey, man, same as always. I had a lot of fun. We'll keep kicking this thing down the road as long as you're still having fun doing it too. And hopefully some people hit us up with some comments, man. I know there's people watching. We see the views, but we need to get some more consistent comments on the board, man.
Definitely.
Alrighty. Well, hey, man, I'm going to shut it down here, and I'll catch up with you in a little bit, James. For anybody out there, thanks for watching. Subscribe, comment, do something. We appreciate the support. We'll catch you later.
No.
All right, man. See ya.
Gridiron Grinder. Hut, hut, hike.